Hi guys, thanks for tuning to this episode of the Nick Egan Times. We have an awesome guest on this episode. We have Jennifer McGill. Jennifer McGill began her career as a Mouseketeer cast member on the Disney Channel's New Mickey Mouse Club at age 10. She is a motivational speaker, recording artist, songwriter, worship leader, writer, vocal producer, and performance coach with over 30 years of experience in front of audiences around the world. Jennifer has collaborated with talents including Christina Aguilera, Boyz II Men, Carman, Chasez, Jason Crabb, Diana Degarmo, Celine Dion, Gosling, McKnight, Will Smith, Britney Spears, Justin Timberlake, TLC, and Vanessa Williams, just to name a few. It's amazing. Welcome, Jennifer, and here to promote her virtual concert on Saturday, February 27th. Thanks for coming on my podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Nick.
My pleasure. How's it all going over there?
It's great. You know, we in Nashville, we have very strange weather. It's really never the same day twice, and we're actually coming upon maybe a little bit of snow in the next week, so we're all excited.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, things are going great. Business is good. I was just telling you before we started, I've been editing some lyric videos, which is a passion of mine kind of later in my career. I'm enjoying that, and teaching. It's great. Every day's a little different, and I love it that way.
Amazing. How have you handled life, and how's it been through the pandemic since it's begun?
I've been talking about that a lot recently because really that comes back into why I started my virtual concerts. When we all went into isolation around March, I did have some blessings where I saw some people right before everyone went into isolation. And so then, yes, you just sit around all the time and you think, well, number one, is my career going to still work out? And I know a lot of artists and people in artist development are struggling, but thankfully, working for PCG Artist Development and then becoming the president of their online program this last year was kind of the opposite result of what maybe all of us were bracing for. And I did a lot of lyric videos last year because people couldn't get together and shoot as much in music video territory. So honestly, I didn't worry for long, but then it really cleared my mind to think on other people and what was going on. And that is why, with all the strife between racism, COVID, there was just a lot of uproar, and rightfully so. A lot of issues were being addressed in a different way last year. I felt the anxiety and the struggle of that, but I also felt very helpless for many reasons. And so I decided the best thing I could do is to gather my fans and the people who support me and point them in the direction of charity, point them in the direction of let's give to people who need it right now in certain ways. And so I developed a Stage It concert, which it's very casual. I just sing a bunch of Mickey Mouse Club songs and songs from my 2017 album. I take requests, and we are a small but mighty tribe who gives back. We gave back over $3,500 last year to No Kid Hungry and the NAACP, and I matched a portion of those proceeds to Pastors Discipleship Network, specifically to help out a few of my cousins' contacts in Uganda, where civilization was getting very difficult in a whole different way than maybe what we see in America. So I was satisfied that I was doing something in my lane, something that I really could do well, that would point this attention and focus towards people who really needed it, because I was okay. And it's hard. I can imagine someone else in the world must be feeling this way. Our family had a very good year last year, and it was strange to be in a bubble of blessing when a lot of other people weren't in the same place. And so my whole direction changed to help other people last year.
Wow, that's amazing. Respect. All right, let's just jump straight into it for the listeners. Who is Jennifer McGill?
I would say that the first and last adjective anyone would use to describe me is joy or joyous.
Sure.
My mother's name was Joy. My middle name is Joy. And I am very much my mother's daughter. So I'm a silver lining girl. I'm a positive person. I'm an encourager and a nurturer. And so it was interesting to be shaped by such a harsh and judgy career, such as show business, because I believe for me, it made me more sensitive to the needs of artists, especially the young ones who go into the business as young as I did, which was 10, as far as signing my first contract professionally. I'd been on the stage ever since I was, in preschool. So I knew I wanted to do what I loved from the very beginning, but it's way easier said than done. Some people don't even know yet in their teens or 20s if artistry is going to be, their career. It's a very difficult business on all fronts, but I believe that I've been shaped in the way that I have in order to help. Like I said, all parts of my career are to serve others now. And so I believe I'm a servant. I believe I'm someone who's supposed to love on people and nurture them, but really it all boils down to joy. I want to be an example of joy in the hard times and the good times.
Fantastic. Take us back. Tell me about life growing up, and your family and everything on those side of things.
I was born and grew up in a very small town, Denison, Texas. My mother and I were by ourselves for a little while, my first few years, before my dad came along, who adopted me, and I have his last name. And my family grew a lot, but we were a very simple family. We didn't have a lot of extra money to throw around. And this was the day of, 8 tracks were kind of leaving, but we were starting to order karaoke tracks from cassette tape companies. That's what I grew up in. So everything took forever. And I had a mother who sewed and glued costumes together for me to be in dance competitions. Not dance. I mean, I did move, but I'm a singer. That's real. I just loved all the big high notes. And so some people go into certain sports like soccer, football, etc. I went into singing competitions. And so very quickly from a very young age, most of what I was concerned with was music, was singing and competing. But in my private life, I would just dig in the dirt, play on the swing set. Anytime I won a crown, I would just take it home and play dress up. So I was definitely an outdoorsy, imaginative little girl. But I knew from the beginning, with the support of my family, that I just wanted to go be a singer.
Sure. And let's go back to, how did it transpire you going into be a Mouseketeer and a cast member on the Disney Channel? How did that all happen from, obviously, I guess it's relevant to obviously what you were doing and talking about just then, but how did that all transpire?
The odds are almost unbelievable because I did not have any, like I said, we weren't wealthy. We didn't have any connections. It was, to me, it was just, I guess it was destiny, because one of my last competitions when I was 10, I was very successful there. And one of the judges was a children's agent out of Dallas, Texas. And on a handshake, she represented me. And basically the first audition she got me was the show. And wow. I can tell you there were plenty of blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girls that they auditioned. And I don't know why they chose me, except the casting director was the same throughout all the seasons of the new Mickey Mouse Club. And he saw something in me. I think he's explained it like it was raw talent. There was a glimmer in my eyes, but they were looking for kids who were a little rough around the edges, who weren't robots, who didn't have it all figured out. They wanted real kids, who could relate to other real kids in the audience. And I was an exceptional ham. So they knew I would be great at the comedic skits. And as I grew on the show, I definitely sharpened my skills in all of my comedic acting and, of course, all the singing. So in retrospect, I was a great choice because I loved that job. And I stayed there the whole time, all 7 seasons, including the pilot. But I was a needle in a haystack. And I cannot imagine the job back in the day when you had to show up in person or submit a VHS tape in order for them to see you. And then them getting back to everybody and organizing in-person final auditions in Orlando. It was a huge movement to get like 13 kids on a television show. But I made it. And I cannot tell you why, besides what I just said. It was just the right moment, the right time. I was prepared enough, and I was right for the job.
Amazing. How did that change your life for better or worse going into the future?
I would say that I was just talking to some of my fellow Mouseketeers yesterday, and we were asking each other, would you have stayed on longer if the show had not finished, had not been canceled? And basically we all said yes. But, my answer specifically was, that was my favorite show. That was my favorite job. I would come home from work and watch the show. I was a fan. I loved that show and everything that had to do with the production. I loved that there were like-minded, similarly talented kids all around me, like I had never experienced before. Such a wide range in that's not even it, a diverse group of kids, different ages, everyone looked different. Everyone had different versions of being talented. And it was wonderful to see everybody shine in a different way. And I had never been around a big group like that before. But so I would say that 90% of what happened to me, the changes that were made were for the better. My family, sooner than later, committed to moving our entire household to Orlando, Florida, expecting that we would be in it for the long haul, for the 7 years. We decided to take a chance. We had nothing to lose, and we made it happen. And because of that, I was one of the few Mouseketeers who came home to my home every night after we worked. I came home to my whole family, including pets. I was enrolled in the school that we would use as our curriculum on location. And so I was very well embedded into the community, and I felt like almost a regular girl. I would say really the only thing, my husband and I talk about this sometimes because I do experience a bunch of pressure even today. Even in my 40s, I experience this pressure. If I'm just sitting quietly, I start wondering, what do I need to be doing? I need to be productive. I need to make something happen, because that show developed me from the age of 10 through 17, basically 5th grade through senior year in high school, to be on. We had a very tight itinerary. We were responsible for so much with no auto-tune, no cue cards, nobody to help us but to teach us. And then we had to go make it happen on stage. So there's a lot of pressure and a lot of self-evaluation and a lot of comparison that can come from a childhood like that. And my husband and I talk about how, even though I think maybe I was a regular kid, maybe I missed out on some stuff. Maybe I was an adult a little too early. And you really can't escape that, but you can come back around and help the next generations to understand they're not going crazy if they feel like they need to be producing all the time. They're not going crazy if people are telling them to lose weight or change their appearance and they don't want to. They feel maybe that's not natural. They're not crazy. That these are parts of show business, but that if you have the right team behind you, and you have someone who's already done it, who's been in the trenches, you really can be more of a whole person from the inside out as an artist. It is possible. And I am one of those cases that was pretty close. I did pretty well. I am pretty well adjusted, but everybody comes out of that business with a little bit of a self-evaluation problem.
That's fantastic. Great insights. Who are some of the people that you worked with? Like, I see that obviously you've worked with amazing artists that I mentioned at the start. How have those collaborations happened, and who's been your favorite artist to have worked with, and what have you done?
Well, on the new Mickey Mouse Club, so the celebrity roster from the new Mickey Mouse Club, the names that you would have heard of the most from that show are, in no particular order, Carrie Russell, Ryan Gosling, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, JC Chasez from NSYNC, as well as Justin Timberlake. Let's see, was that all of them? That was a lot of them. We also have Rona Bennett, who is now part of the new incarnation of En Vogue. They're doing amazing. And that's just a few of them. There are so many, exquisitely talented people that came out of that show. I would say that's all of us. But those celebrity names, they're famous for a reason. They're all ridiculously special and talented, and they work very hard. And so that's most of the collaboration from those people. It was when we were all teenagers. But then I went on, we were able to really collaborate as far as live shows with Alanis Morissette and Boyz II Men, Vanessa Williams. I did have a beautiful moment with Celine Dion. We were singing for President Clinton's inaugural celebration for the youth. It was a televised special from the Kennedy Center that Will Smith was hosting. And some of the Mouseketeers got to go sing for that. And we were all standing in line to go on for the finale, which we hadn't really rehearsed. I don't remember what it was all about, except that I was worried about the words of the song. And I was talking to my friend about it behind me as we were waiting to go on. And Celine Dion turns around right in front of me in line and says, "You are going to be wonderful. You're going to be wonderful." Just sprinkled me with positivity. And even if I didn't realize the depth of that moment until recently, she is who I grew up to be like, as far as turning around to someone that I don't know anything about and telling them something positive, telling them a nurturing and supportive comment. And she made it okay. And I'll never forget that. That's one of my favorite moments of my life because I'm a huge fan of her now. She was just coming into America after doing the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack. And so I didn't know much about her, but I knew she was wonderful. And then as I grew up as a fan, I just couldn't believe that that wonderful woman turned around and helped me in that moment. And it just spoke volumes to me over time.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Tell me, you're an executive and a coach for PCG Artist Development, as well as the president on PCG Online. Can you talk to that? And elaborate, I guess, what it's about?
Absolutely. So I fell in love with this company a few years ago when I signed on because the founders of that company brought up the example. And it's so interesting because now she's back in the news and I won't get too specific, but they saw back in the day, many years ago, some struggles that Britney Spears was going through. It was a very big press thing, of course. And they had a big heart, like I do now, for young artists. And the team that supports them and how they are guided or misguided, what befalls young people in the business is not exclusive to Britney. So they wanted to create a company where they could train not only the young artist, but their parents, all of their team, build the right team, build products, and do it through an independent artist business model where this young person, or, we have older artists too, bands as well of all ages, but where that artist is equipped with the right people at the right time. The founders are always available for advice, even if you are an alum of the program. And every case is different. Every artist has different needs. And so it's a tailored program to each person. We have full-time programs. And now I'm president of PCG Online, which is our online sort of a la carte program, where after you subscribe, you have the access to all of our services and sessions. And basically we're there to help you at whatever piece of, I would say, your artistic development you're currently experiencing. We have workshops that we use every year to, find that 1%, that makes sense in our program. We also, though, understand that, and I have a big heart for this too, there are lots of young families, young artists, or even older artists who don't know where to begin. And so we have programs and services where you can work with us and meet with us for advice. We can help you tailor the next steps. We also do lots of paneling and critiquing in workshops. We're really trying to be able to touch as many artist situations as we can, even if you're not ready for our full-time program. So that's why PCG Online was developed, so that we could be sort of the go-between and the beginning steps as well for a lot of our young artists.
Superb. Let's talk about your virtual concert that obviously is coming up on Saturday, February 27th. Talk to me about that.
So this will be the first one of 2021. I took January off. I just felt we all just needed a minute to unwind. We've moved into a new home since the fall, and I really wanted to prep my concert space. It's all done from my home. I'm very adamant about being able to do anything from my office or just to be able to set design from home. I really believe in this wonderful virtual season that we're in, that was, of course, born from a lot of inconvenience, but here we are, and we're able to do more from our homes. And so I want to embrace that as much as I can. And so, like I said, it's a very casual stage at concert. Most of the people who attend are fans from the new Mickey Mouse Club who have followed me since I was a little person. And we have new fans all the time. We have the next generation. We have mommy fans who are bringing their kids to watch. And so what I do is I just take the theme of the month. And so this month, I have not finalized my set list, but it'll be approximately 45 minutes. And I'll be speaking about, certain issues or, setting up the songs. But the basic theme will be love songs, even though it's after February 14th. We'll have some love songs. And I do want to celebrate Black History Month because most of the artists I grew up loving are from that R&B 90s family, and most of them are Black. And so I mean, Whitney Houston is probably my favorite singer of all time. So I just, I could pull straight from that theme. I could pull every song that I do. It could be wrapped up in love songs as well as some of my favorite Black artists through time. So, that's a big deal for February. That's the big theme. And I'm really excited. Really, I use, my laptop. I set it up with my lighting, and, I've got an assistant who comes in. We're working on, creating even better sound, each month. We're working on upgrading our system, but really it's like a fireside chat. It's really just everybody get online. We're going to enjoy each other's company. You can, utilize the chat room. We're here to donate. We're here to raise money for those 3 charities. And we're going to have fun with this music. And that's all it's about.
Superb. Tell me, you released an album in 2017 called Unbreakable. Talk to me about that.
So I have this great independent record label who truly believed that there needed to be a Jennifer McGill full-length album in the world. And I'm forever grateful to Lifetime Impact Music for making that a reality. And the process probably took about 2 years, because doing a full-length album, one of the goals was that I co-write all of the original songs. And so this album, I believe it has 17 songs. It's been a minute, and so maybe I'm thinking 2017 It has 17 songs. But it's close. It's either like 16, 17, and that's the deluxe CD that we did have like one pressing. Most of those are done, but we still have, plenty of other merch. And it's all, of course, streaming. I have lyric videos for all of the original pop songs that you can find on my YouTube channel. So, I mean, it's all over the place, and I'm really, really glad for streaming. But it was a journey, that album. All of the messages were messages that I had been collecting ever since I was probably 11 or 12 years old, was probably the furthest away story that I can remember incorporating into the lyrics of that album. Now, Unbreakable, for me, coming from a Christian point of view, I am very, very passionate about nurturing people of all faiths and all walks of faith. I do not enjoy exclusion. And so I wanted my pop inspirational genre to reflect strength and love and endurance, and that you're not alone, and no matter what's going on, you can pick yourself back up. There is strength there. I wanted to convey to anybody lyrics that make sense to anybody. And if you are a Christian, you'll see it from a Christian perspective as well, that there's another layer that's faith-based that is woven into those lyrics. But they are for everybody. What I have to say about love and strength and endurance and healing and forgiveness is for everybody. That's the big theme of the song, of the album. That Unbreakable for me only happened to be unbreakable for me as a faith-based perspective of myself. That before I call it, I started adulting with Jesus. Like before I really chose as an adult to believe what I believe, I was really susceptible to falling apart. The world just could knock me down, and it did many, 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 many times over. And when I examined all these pieces, I realized I couldn't put myself back together by myself. I needed my faith. I needed something stronger and just way better than me to get it all together. And so I did. I looked to God. And once I was back together, I felt that, when the world was punching at me after that, it didn't feel the same way. And I didn't react in the same way. So I became spiritually unbreakable based on my journey with God. So I was super thankful about that. And then I wanted to share that with other people, as well as meet them where they were in their journey of possibly falling apart. Maybe they were on different parts of that road than I was at the time that I released the album. So I did. It's basically a timeline. It's a journey of everything that I went through. I wrote a love letter to myself in the song, What I Know. And I think it's actually called What I Know Now. There's another beautiful song co-written by Aaron Rice that's called What I Know that I also recorded a few years ago. That's also somewhere on my YouTube page. But What I Know Now is the song I wrote with Jen Bostic. And it is a love song to a bullied and broken little girl of 11 or 12 years old. And that was very important. Yeah, it was just very important for me to include all that.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. What inspires Jennifer daily?
Ooh, let's see. Besides my faith, you know what's interesting now? I used to have a love-hate relationship with food. And what inspires me every day is that I get up and I get to cook vegan food. I get to feed myself in a way that I don't have to worry about what I'm ingesting. I can just celebrate it. I can celebrate my love for food. And I feel like I've put it in a very healthy place. So right now, because I've started a new vegan vlog, which is called I'm Just Eating. You can find that on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Just Eating Official on Instagram. But I'm just a new vegan in training. You know, I participated in Veganuary or Veganuary, however you say it. And it just got me really inspired. You know, I'm also inspired by my family. Physically, I get up to let my dog out. So, you know, to make the coffee and let my dog out. So that's very inspirational to get up and get that going. But our new house is wonderful and I've enjoyed decorating and again, working on my stage it scene and my office. It's really the little things today that keep me going because for so long I was so worried about so many umbrella statements and so many thematic issues. I'm enjoying the little things right now.
Cool. What's the best thing that's ever happened in your life?
Oh, you know what's funny? And again, besides my faith, my mother was pretty awesome. She is the reason why I was able to do what I did so young. And she was the one on stage with me. She was the one on the sidelines, directly supporting me. I mean, my whole family's awesome. I'm so grateful for my whole family, for my husband's family. I'm grateful to have a mother-in-law I love. That's great. The best thing that's ever happened to me, that's hard because I see everything. I try to see everything through that silver lining. Every day, I would say, every day I learn something. And I think the best thing that's happened to me is that I keep getting up and I keep learning. I get wiser. I don't have a number one thing. It's all the cliche things anyone would say. Getting married, you know, your dog, your family, being alive, having great health. I mean, I'm very blessed. And I'm also not afraid of my age. Like I'm 43 and I have no pre-existing conditions. There's no health problems. I'm really blessed that I can still get up and serve people and do what I got to do. I know that I'm not old, but depending on who's watching, you know, this is the time where I feel like all our friends start talking about things falling apart. And so far so good. You know, I feel like I've really been able to dedicate the time to wholeness. So I'm just really thankful for a lot of stuff. There isn't just one thing, but my mom was kind of the best thing ever.
Awesome. If you were 18 again and you could do anything differently, what would you change?
You know, I have that thought a lot. I can't say, I mean, I do have regrets. Everybody does. I can't say that going back and changing anything would actually make me wiser and better off today. But I believe that if I could start at about that 11-year-old, 12-year-old place when I first started on the show, knowing what I know now about self-confidence and really beating down the idea that I have to compare myself or measure up to other people's standards, I think that would have really shaped me in a very internally and emotionally different way. I think that if I've wasted any time, it was wasting time on, you know, crushes and worrying about my shape or worrying about other skinny people, how talented they were, like just all of the comparison games that I played forever. It seems like decades. That beat me down more than anything physically in life. And so if I could go back, I would want to go back with the knowledge that I am enough and that I'm fabulous. You know, I think everyone would like to go back. Thank you. But like 11 years old was around the time that I started questioning that. That's when I'd live it all over again just to change that. I would. But then, you know, you come up with those ideas of, well, what if I didn't meet my husband? What if things changed and I didn't do this or that? So, you know, I also would have loved to have spent more time with my mother. I haven't said this yet. I mean, she passed when I was 24. It was a while ago. We're coming up on 20 years. But I would have, you know, tried to shape her life a little differently too, so that heart disease wouldn't have been a factor for her, that maybe she could have lived past 57. She needed to go on. She had more to give. So of course, like those big ticket items, I would love to change them. But I also love where I am now.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Yeah.
Not getting too political here, but obviously with all the changes that have happened recently, where do you see the United States generally positioned going into the future and moving forward?
It's true. Like, it is, you can't get too political with me because I'm not good at politics. So there's that. But, I'm bad with understanding, let's say, the financial status of things. So I can't really comment on that. What I am looking forward to is further exploration of civil rights, further exploration of the little guys taking care of people. But I also understand that there always has to be a balance. And because I don't know enough about politics, I can't describe what that would be. But I flourish in a place where people are nurtured and people are not forgotten and taken care of and supported. And so I'm hoping that this is a season of a lot of brokenness being worked on.
Excellent. Have you done any traveling internationally, or obviously you've done some domestically?
Yes. One of my I forget the term, like bucket list places to go is actually Australia. I have not been to Australia or New Zealand.
You're coming.
Right? I would love to come over. I would love it. But I have actually done a lot of traveling. I have performed in Germany. I'm not going to remember all of them, but Germany, Scotland, Iceland, England. I've visited Japan and China. I've performed in Saudi Arabia. I know there's more, but there's that. No, I said Saudi Arabia. I feel like Poland. I think we had one in Poland and Hungary. Just lots of great, I didn't stay there very long. It was really, you just keep going. It's a tour. So, you just keep moving around. But I adore travel. I adore it. I love seeing new places. And, I've been all over America too, of course. And I miss it. And I'll always travel as much as I can. I know this isn't the season for it. But in comparison, my husband really hasn't traveled outside the United States. So I can't wait to have that time with him to be able to possibly even travel to places neither of us have been.
Where was your favorite place that you did internationally travel to, like in Europe?
I have moments. Like I have moments in certain places, for different reasons. So again, I guess I don't have a favorite. I love cliffs for some reason. Cliffs and lighthouses and castles. So there was a beautiful cliff and lighthouse in Iceland. We were in Keflavik, which was the USO base.
Sure.
And we performed there and it was super windy. So I just enjoyed hearing about the culture of that area and, experiencing basically almost being blown off that cliff. It was so strong, those winds. It was really incredible. There was a beautiful castle, I'm probably going to mispronounce it, in Scotland called Dunatar or Dunatar, I'm not sure, with the most stairs that you've ever climbed. But I love exploring old buildings, thinking about how they were made and how life would have been there. I loved Scotland because I remember I actually went there twice. Once for a high school trip where we did a show for the Fringe Festival there. And I took some pretty pictures on a cliff, took some pictures in like some flower fields for my mother. I just remembered that I had my friend take the click picture, a few of them specifically to show my mom. So that was really cool, but I love cliffs. I actually love heights, So I think, another bucket list would be, gosh, I can't imagine this ever happening for me, but I would love to climb Mount Fuji. I would love to get one of those stamps, like those sticks that you put all the stamps on it. That sounds amazing. I love climbing. So yeah, I guess those are a few of the beautiful times, but my favorite trip, mostly because it was the longest, was when I was touring through Germany with a Michael Jackson tribute show. I was the only female in the cast. And I would take walkabouts where I would wake up. This sounds kind of funny, but I'd wake up at about 10 a.m. in Germany on our tour bus because we stay up so late. And I would have breakfast, and then I would look around 360, and I would find the tallest building, and I would walk to it, which is incredibly ignorant to think that my safety would not be an issue. So I do not advise people to just go out and, wander. But that's exactly what I did. Before cell phones, I didn't have any way of contacting anyone. I just went off on my own usually, but 9 times out of 10, it would have been a church steeple. So then I would go in, I would take pictures of all the signs in German, and I would take all the pictures of all the beautiful, I don't know, whatever was in there, all the sculptures and, it's the Stations of the Cross. I didn't know there were so many ways to make that happen, like wood carvings, stone carvings, stained glass, like all these sculptures. And then I would take it home. And after our show that night, I would look up all of the words of the signs and I would put together a blog and talk about my trip and weave in my spirituality and talk about where I went and when it was built and what the signs said. And I would just issue it, to the world. So that was I guess now people do that as influencers. It's like a thing now. But back then I just did it because I was compelled to. And if the stars ever align and I'm allowed to be an influencer in that way, so be it. Because I always will love to travel and talk about my experiences.
Amazing. Jennifer, thank you for joining my podcast. I do appreciate it. It's been a great time, and I wish you all the best with your virtual concert and everything else you're doing in life. I think you're in a great trajectory. I think you're on top of your game, and I really look forward to seeing you prosper into the future.
Thank you, Nick. I wish all the same for you. I'm so excited to be here. I really, really appreciate the time. Really.
Cool. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.